presenting on behalf of the plaintiff, we think that the Hong Kong government owes the following duty of care to Sophia. First, to set a safe air quality standard to prevent long-term negative impact on asthma sufferers. Second, to monitor and ensure manufacturers' labeling and regulation. And third, to set labeling regulation to warn the possible danger of sulfur dioxide to children with asthma. To prove this duty of care, we would show that there are reasonable foreseeability and sufficient proximity. Asthma attacks are proven to be highly correlated with poor air quality. Researchers have proven the acute effect of air pollutants on children with asthma. Hong Kong government could reasonably foresee that low air quality standard could result in a high level of air pollutant emission and thus impose negative long-term effect on children with asthma. Except issues related to air quality, the government's omission in regulating and monitoring the level of sulfur dioxide could also lead to foreseeable damage. Sulfur dioxide is commonly used as food preservative, but it might be fatal to children with asthma. It could be reasonably foreseen that if the food lacks the level of sulfur dioxide, children with asthma will have a higher chance of taking in excessive amount of sulfur dioxide. Regarding the labeling regulation, there is no regulation requiring the manufacturers to label the lethal danger of sulfur dioxide to asthma sufferers. With such warning label, the parents could have taken better care of the children with asthma and damage could have been prevented. In terms of proximity, Sophia is closely and directly affected by the government's standard on air quality and regulation on preservative labeling. Any misconduct could possibly cause damages to Sophia. Fulfilled both proximity and foreseeability, the duty of care of government is established. Now that the government owes a duty of care to Sophia, we are going to show how the government breaches duty. A reasonable government will set a higher standard on air quality to take a better precaution towards asthma sufferers. Hong Kong government's air quality standard on PM10, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide and ozone are lower than that in mainland China, US, and Europe. Under low standards, air quality in Hong Kong is so poor that it historically caused Sophia several acute asthma attacks and has long-term negative impact on her. So, the government breaches duty by setting these unsafe air quality standards. Moreover, the government owes the duty of care to Sophia for its failure in monitoring and ensuring sulfur dioxide labeling. Hong Kong government has regulation on how to label sulfur dioxide on products. However, due to negligence of Hong Kong government in enforcing this regulation, there is no label on this apricot product produced in Hong Kong. Also, regarding regulation of labeling, there is no provision about labeling the lethal danger of sulfur dioxide to asthma sufferers. It is regarded that this kind of label is a reasonable and practical precaution to avoid the foreseeable risk. From the above statement, we can imply that there is proximate causal link between the omission of Hong Kong government and Sophia's death.
I'm presenting on the behalf of the Hong Kong government. In terms of the duty of setting the safe air quality standard in Hong Kong, the government admits that it is very important to set such a standard so that the living environment to the public won't be threatened. Indeed, it is a fact that the air quality standard to Hong Kong is lower than some other countries. But for this specific case about Sophia, no scientific research has yet convinced that the air quality directly triggered her asthma. In Sophia's case, the doctor has confirmed that it is the dry apricot directly result in her death. The low air quality standard is too remote to cause Sophia's death. About the long-term effect of the poor air quality on Sofia, there is no reasonable foreseeability from a long-term effect to her death, and it is again too remote to cause Sofia's death. Due to the lack of causal link, the Hong Kong government is therefore not negligent on the first duty of care. In terms of the second duty of care to monitor and ensure the product labeling, before proving the Hong Kong government has all fulfilled the duty, I need to clarify several facts. First, the government has set a maximum limit on the amount of preservatives added in the food, including the sulfur dioxide. Second, this standard of limit is widely adopted by many other countries, and in some countries like Australia, there is an even higher limit. Third, the government has strictly required the food manufacturers to label their use of preservatives. Having clarified the above, we can see that it is the Lucky Trading Company actually holds the negligent because it is not following the government's regulation. The government does have the duty to monitor, but it is impossible and impractical for the government to check every single product that is manufactured by the Lucky Trading Company. Since the Hong Kong government has already set a standard, a reasonable care is considered to have been exercised, and the Hong Kong government is not negligent for its manufacturing duty. In terms of the duty to require the wording of sulfur dioxide duty to asthma sulfur, and to print it on the label, it is actually not a common practice for most countries in reality. It could be unfair to other disease carriers that the government only require label the danger to asthma sulfur. And also, it is not practical. Imagine if you grab a snack in the supermarket. On the package of the snack, there are batches of labeling saying that this food could be dangerous to people with asthma, heart disease, or pregnant women, etc. What would you feel? It is not just fair and reasonable to impose a duty of care to the government. In Sofia's case, it is Sofia's parents' responsibility to gain the knowledge of what kind of food is suitable for Sofia, and to ensure Sofia did not take in any dangerous food. To conclude, the government is not negligent in the Sofia's death.
Here comes our conclusion. In conclusion, our group believes that the Hong Kong government is not negligent to cause Sofia's death. The plaintiff raised three duties of care the government owed to Sofia. They are: first, to set a safe air quality standard to prevent long-term impact on the asthma sufferers; second, to monitor and ensure the manufacturer's labeling; and third, to set labeling regulations to warn the possible danger of sulfur dioxide to children with asthma. However, the government's immunity is proved by stronger arguments. Foremost, in terms of setting air quality standard, it is questionable whether the government has breached a duty or not. Even the government has breached a duty of care, the causal link between the damage and the breach of duty is unclear because Sofia's death is not reasonably foreseeable. Whereas for the labeling monitoring, the government has accomplished the reasonable precaution so it doesn't breach the duty of care. Last but not least, in terms of the duty of care to require danger labeling related to sulfur dioxide, consider the corresponding problem in commercial practicality and fairness. Such duty of care cannot be established. From the above, we can see that the duty of care either not exists or is not breached. After a fair balance between the arguments provided by two parties, we conclude the government is not negligent in Sofia's death.